Welcome into Inside LAFC podcast. Hi, everyone. I am Max Bretos. We are joined, as always, by Stephen Beitashour. Last week on the podcast, we were, there was like some violins playing. It was not the feel-good hour. And we said, next week's going to be better. And boy, were we right. Beta, not only U.S. Open Cup, but then they come over and get the victory at Cincinnati. So good news everywhere. Fireworks exploding. The band is playing. Good times coming our ways.
Look, the Open Cup I saw coming, but the result in Cincinnati, oh my goodness. What a week. What a week for the boys. And we spoke it into existence. So well done, Max. I'm proud of us. We did it.
So much to talk about, and it's very exciting, all positive. We're also going to be joined by Omar Campos, who had a very big Open Cup. Katia Castorena is going to join us. We are going to ask him all the questions that you want to hear. That's coming up on Inside LAFC. And I'm going to ask him because I know he was kidding around, but in the game, in the post-match, Steve Cherundolo said about Omar Campos, he goes, it's the first time I've seen him use his right foot. And I said, there's no way that he hasn't used his right foot before when he's finishing like that. That was what would be the game-winning goal of the Open Cup. We'll talk about that and everything else he's been doing as his career is really starting to hum.
Yeah. And I'm not going to lie. When he took that ball inside, I'm like, don't shoot. Come on, man. I've been in that same spot on the week, but don't shoot. What a goal. Good for him. Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about that and many more things. Exciting episode today for sure.
Look at he's all giddy.
We've been waiting for this. The one trophy, what we talked about.
We talked about it. That's been one of the themes. Get the one trophy. Well, LAFC has got it, and now they can just everything else is gravy. Go out for that MLS Cup and make it two. And I believe they have a really good shot based on what we have seen this last week, specifically what we saw in Cincinnati. We'll get to all of that. 2-game week coming up, and then a little chance to collect your breath, but not too much, as LAFC be one of a few teams in action the following weekend. But let us talk about the 2024 U.S. Open Cup Championship. We'll keep it brief because it's a little bit in our rearview mirror, but we haven't had a chance to touch on it. But I did want to mention, in last week's podcast, Beta felt very confident. He said, LAFC is not going to lose this game unless it goes into extra time and they take it to penalties. And I'm thinking in my head, watching that game, I'm all over the stadium. I was all over the stadium trying to soak it all in. And I'm thinking Beta is going to be right on this. And if we go to penalties, all due respect to Hugo Lloris, who's a legend, the goalkeeper at the other end, Tim Melia, has the best penalty save record, I believe, in MLS. So it was frightening. And I was thinking about you, but lo and behold, they were able to get it, and it was a magical night. We got to get you your trophy shot still. But, man, no one will forget it. I'm still buzzing about it. What an incredible evening. Packed stadium, big show, fireworks, you name it. They did it. And you can imagine, Beta, if they didn't, how different everything would look like right now.
Yeah. No, I'm glad they did it. And the whole time I'm thinking when Kansas City leveled it, I'm like, no way this is going to happen. I know we mentioned it. The only way they would lose if it goes into penalties, because Tim Melia is unbelievable at penalties. I don't know. This guy has like the pamphlet of, okay, this is exactly where everyone's going. He always guesses right. But lo and behold, we mentioned earlier, Campos cutting it on the inside on the right foot, the weak right foot, which was not weak at all. It was unbelievable. What a strike. Curls it out of the reach of Melia to get the 2-1. It would be 3-1 victory, but the game winner. And it was good. It was a good result. And the entire game, when the game started to when they took the lead to even when Kansas City, drawed it up, it was always going to be LAFC's game. You saw the intensity, the tenacity from every player, right? All the runs, breaking lines, running in behind. It just looked like they were first to every single ball. And I'm like, yeah, this is LAFC's night. You can tell that the message has been from player 1 to 18. We have to win this. Like you and I spoke about this one trophy.
You say that, and that can backfire, right? When it's in your head. We got to win this. We got to win this.
Yes. But I just love the energy that everybody had. It wasn't just one or two guys. It was everyone had that energy. It's just intense. Let's go get after it. Okay, goes out, get ready, get set. We're going again. And they had that mindset of, okay, this is all that matters. Forget the weekend's game. Forget about Cincinnati. This is it. And then this is the beautiful part about the game. You win Open Cup, you rotate against Cincinnati, and then you win again. It's
unbelievable.
insane. What a week.
We'll talk about Cincinnati in a moment. One quick thought about the Open Cup before we put it away. We can celebrate it because it's our first U.S. Open Cup. We'll have those memories. The videos of this game will come up again. Steve Cherundolo running to Kai Kamara, celebrating it. You could see just the pressure come off. I talked to his wife afterwards, and she was aware of it, and she was so appreciative of everyone who put so much work into it. And Kai Kamara, I mean, there was like some surreal things because this was a different U.S. Open Cup. This was great for the Open Cup. This was great for the league. When you see Olivier Giroud with a scarf that says Open Cup winner, and he's as excited as if he won a Premier League trophy or the FA Cup. And it gained a lot of traction everywhere in the world that we're covering. They go, Olivier Giroud, Open Cup, and people are going, this must mean something. And it does. But it's been, the Open Cup's been kicked around a little bit. And then Kai Kamara has a tweet said, Commissioner Don Garber, this tournament has to be held to an important status. And this is why, because that was an amazing showpiece. Don Garber was there. I don't know what it means, but I'd like for this to, I hope that that's a bad episode and we can boost the Open Cup again. It's never always going to be this good. I'm not saying this because we're LAFC, but all those pieces with Olivier Giroud and this incredible finish and this incredible atmosphere. But those are the kind of games that can help, maybe people reassess a couple things.
I think they need to reassess it. And actually, the buzz that this just created for it, it should open their eyes because welcome to Wrexham. Everybody tuned into it. And everyone's like, oh, man, you get this promotion relegation, all this nonsense about lower teams playing against the first division teams. It's like, yeah, we have that here. It's called the Open Cup. And then for whatever reason, we decided, okay, you know what? MLS teams, you're not going to play in it. Like, what are you talking about? This was your chance. There was a buzz. Everyone was on board to just run with it. And MLS, for whatever reason, took the opposite route. So now is their chance. Okay, Kansas City, LAFC, what a final. You mentioned Giroud taking the pictures and world news. Everyone's talking about it. His first trophy with LAFC. This is fantastic. So now, hopefully, next year, they'll kind of be like, okay, you know what? We went the wrong direction last year. Let's go back. This is the oldest tournament in U.S. soccer. Let's embrace it. Let's enjoy it. It's every single league, first, second, third division has a chance. And so it's something that you should embrace. So I hope they do. I hope they, take a different mindset for next year.
I believe it won't look like it did in past years with the full participation, but it will look better than this year. I think they'll certainly do that because I think people realize it. And I think MLS like, yeah, look, we realize this is an important date. The games were on Apple TV. So, I mean, that was a good sign. Mm-hmm. And then everything that followed.
And then you look at the crowd too. Don't forget about the crowd. Everyone showed up. They were buzzing 32-52 as usual, but it was a packed house. They were excited for that trophy. It just shows you that it meant a lot on a Wednesday.
I will say this too, because when we think of MLS Cup, the celebration, the game was in the afternoon. So it was, you didn't feel that the nighttime take hold of a sporting event, which is games are supposed to be played at night. Mm-hmm. And with the nighttime aspect, and I'm seeing all the celebrations, I go, we didn't get this at MLS Cup. And I'm like, this is special.
Yeah.
This is amazing. You're like, oh, this is pretty cool because of the nighttime. And it was like, by the way, we had a little celebration at the field club and the game ended 30 minutes. The game started at 8:12 in the evening. Yeah. So I had a little something to eat. And I looked at my watch. It was 1 a.m.
Yeah. The after party. That's where you're at. All of a sudden, you're like, "Oh my goodness, what a
I was the after party for 30 minutes, and it was 12:30." Anyhow, it was past my bedtime. That's what I'm thinking.
Times.
You touched on the win in Cincinnati, a statement road win, and you could have forgiven LAFC if they were still in celebratory mode and going to be hard to get on an airplane and go and beat an FC Cincinnati, one of the 5 or 6 best records in MLS. With Lucha Acosta, Luca Orellano, who is a stud player, tremendous squad, deep. And not only did LAFC win this game, they won it 2-1, but from the beginning with an alternate lineup, they're missing some players that didn't travel. They put some players on the bench like Denis Bouanga, who maybe he should be a sub. I'm just kidding. He came on and got the game winner. But this was not only a win. They deserved this. They were better. And this was the game, more so than the Open Cup. This is the game where I'm going, this is where it felt like LAFC flicked the switch like they did in 2022, like they did in 2023, where everyone's coming together. The new players are, and there's a lot of new players, and we'll talk about them, are part of the team. This felt like that moment, like Portland in 2022. I can't remember where the moment in 2023. It's going to ruin my editorial here, but it was there, and it feels like they did it again here in this game.
It did feel like that, and it's a game that I went into it. I'm sure a lot of fans went into it, even the coaching staff, maybe to a certain extent, where they kind of wrote this off as a wash. Okay, you know what? We just
point. See if you can get a point.
Get a point. A point would be phenomenal. No one's thinking 3, Max. No one. And then you go and do that. It's the switch. That's the switch. You know what? Now we're in playoff mode. Let's go. Let's see if we can catch a certain someone and get that home field advantage for the entire playoffs, which it's now kind of in reach because no one saw this coming. But what a result, what a game. And you know, the more I watch O'Brien, by the way, the more I'm like impressed with this guy. Like, this guy is good. He's a good footballer. And I'm just thinking, man, they have so many options in midfield, you know, because Tillman's another one. You know, you have Eddie, who I love. It's just, you got some options there now with everyone healthy. It's interesting. He balled out. So they got some good problems, to say the least.
Yeah. And I think when you beat Cincinnati, and by the way, Cincinnati's actually not a great home team. They're a better away team, but still a long trip in that raucous building is tremendous. And I think some teams are noticing, and everyone's like, we talked about LAFC doesn't want to play this team or that team in the playoffs. I think teams are now going, we don't want to play them, and for obvious reasons. And what it means is that LAFC clinched the playoff spot, and they have clinched the playoff spot in 6 of 7 seasons. The only time they didn't do it, 2021, that was a transition from Bob to Steve Cherundolo, and they have been a dominant team. But right there, 6 and 7 seasons. Could have been 7. They just had a bad year in 2021. We're not going to bring it up. But that's the black and gold standard that we always talk about, right? Playoffs is the minimum, and they seem to hit that mark every time.
Yeah, LAFC gets a lot of hate from other fan bases, other clubs, and it's for this reason right here that you see. 6 out of 7 seasons making the playoffs. How many trophies do you have now? Like, teams have been around for 20-something years in this league and still are looking for their first or second trophy, and you're talking about pretty much making the playoffs every single year. Every single year you're fighting for at least one trophy. It's just funny when you go from team to team, and some teams just their goal is to make the playoffs. And then you have other teams like LAFC that we have to win MLS Cup, or we have to win a trophy. Like, there's just different standards, and this is the LAFC standard. And it was cool when I was a player with them to have that mentality. It was the same thing when I was with TFC. It's a really cool feeling to have, rather than, you know, you go into the preseason and it's like, all right, guys, we got to make the playoffs. Like, what? Playoffs? Well, Sherman Edwards playoffs. Yeah, it's different, right? It's different. And LAFC now has a good chance to get a little double here.
Yeah, all due respect, but imagine we were doing the podcast. I'm just picking a team like Nashville, who's missed a lot. Imagine we were doing what we could be talking about, and people wouldn't want to hear us.
No.
LAFC, the team allows people to click in because they're so successful. That's what people want to see, the winning.
Yeah.
And we get to talk about winning.
It's a good problem to have. We talk about the coaching staff having all these good problems to have. That's a good problem for you and I to have, you know, talking about all the winning.
Let's talk about some of the performances here. And David Martínez got this start, and he strikes again as he's got goals here in a couple league games here, and getting more minutes as well. I want to say something about him that I thought kind of put a little light bulb above my head. And everything for LAFC is transition and fast. You know, the Bouanga, Oliveira, Bogusz, get that ball and go. Palence, the fullbacks, get and go. David Martínez isn't that type of player, but he kind of goes at his own pace, and he slows it down a little bit. And I think Olivier Giroud's not the transition boomer. So LAFC is still that. But I think if you get a moment to put David Martínez and Olivier Giroud and Carlos Vela when he comes, where it's not going to be full throttle, he is a guy that can give LAFC a different look. And we saw it, how it works. And if you can mess with teams, are you going to go? Are you going to do this? It makes you very dangerous. But we could see the skill. And again, this is a big international story because he was a huge prospect. But this kid, you can see the confidence now in the way he plays and the way he took that goal and the way he gets his touches in. He's a cool customer. And it feels like he's like, I'm where I need to be.
You know, you mentioned it with his touches. That's one of the things I'm really impressed with. There's only a few people that every step that they take, he's taking a touch. And I was never close to that, man. I would, when I'm dribbling, I take like 4 or 5 steps and then I dribble again. Every step, this guy's taking a touch. And as a defender, it's a nightmare to defend because you never know when he's going to cut or if he's just pulling you out of position to then take it down the line. And so you're right. He kind of goes he doesn't go slow because he's very smooth and he just glides, but it's every step is a touch. And you never know at one point, is that touch going inside and then he's just curling it? Very similar to what Carlos Vela does. How many times do we see that? 40, 50 times, right? And so for 18-year-olds, I'm still like, man, this kid's 18 and he's this good already. I think, we're talking some crazy levels for this kid right now. Now, he has to continue to work and develop and understand the game a little bit better positionally. But when you see him dribble the ball, I'm always impressed with, his skill level, his talent. And yeah, I think the other guys also speak very highly of him, which says a lot about him.
I think the idea is to see him build and develop. And then this is a player that you sell for a big fee. He's got to get games, but I think teams are going to notice that talent because he's going to be amazing. Maybe he becomes an LAFC legacy player. We shall see. Denis Bouanga getting the game-winning goal off the bench. And that's the thing. I know he's not going to be a super sub, but he's so explosive when he comes in. And you're like, these teams are like, what do we do? We're tired. You can't have this guy coming in the second half going, it's insane. But I'll let you answer that. But we're going to talk about the Golden Boot. He scored a goal. He has 18. He is second in MLS. Christian Benteke scored 2. He has 21. So 4 games to go for LAFC. I think maybe I think 22 is probably going to get it for you if that's one more goal for Benteke. But Denis Bouanga, who won the Golden Boot last year, is in a position to repeat it. I don't think he gets it, but I think he comes very close and finishes second.
I'm going to say 24 just because it's the year 24. I think 24 is the magic number. Whoever gets to 24 will win it.
For sure.
Yes, has a good ring to it. If he gets it, I don't think so, but you never know because it's not super sub Bouanga. This guy's super 90 minutes. Start him and he's a super player. So it doesn't matter if he plays the last 20, 30 minutes or the entire 90. He's going 100 miles an hour the entire time. So the coaches can do whatever they want. As long as he keeps scoring, everyone's happy. So, he's in a good spot. He's one of those players I've talked about many times. I'm glad I don't have to deal with him because there's no answer for him. He'll go left, he'll go right, he'll slow you down and then chop you. He'll just fly by you. He's big and strong. I'm like, yeah, thank goodness I didn't have to deal with him.
What it would be like if you are a fullback and you've played 55 minutes and you're tired and you look at the sideline, you see that guy coming in.
You're doing this. Hey, coach, get me off. Get someone with fresh legs on. This is a nightmare. I don't want any part of that. Oh, yeah. You know what you're doing? You're not asking for a sub, but you're telling your midfielder, hey, buddy, come on over. You're helping me out. We're doubling this right here. Yeah, we got to, that's the only way. You can't 1v1 him. It's impossible. So the midfielder has to track back or the inside center midfielders have to shift over and you have to just, one protects the depth, one protects inside, and force it back. That's your only way. He's too good, man. It's crazy.
I also want to say, we didn't mention Steve Cherundolo, but his substitution patterns in the Open Cup and in this game, phenomenal. The substitution patterns in the Open Cup won the game. Campos, all of that, the subs made the difference. So give coach a big tip of the cap there. As we will see if Denis Bouanga can do that. We're going to mention about Lewis O'Brien, who made the team of the match day. So unexpected, but you said how much you loved him. He created the David Martínez goal. Yeah. He just demolished the Cincinnati midfield and set that play up. What sticks out? What are the things that he does that makes him such an important player for LAFC right now?
First of all, his touch is phenomenal. His directional receiving and trapping, every time he just knows where to take that touch into space to get away from defenders. And then when he drives it, he's very powerful, right? He's driving through the midfield the whole time, like someone's going to foul him, and he just like, get away, get off of me. And then when he drives at that back line to engage that defender and play Martínez so that he continues that speed and is able to finish it, nothing slows down the whole time. He keeps that same speed. And, the years that was, with LAFC and listening to Ante talk about that, and he's only been there, half a year? For him to do that perfectly, I'm just like, yeah, it took players longer than a year to figure out, exactly what to do. And you just tell he has quality. And the more I watch it, I'm like, man, he's figured out he's a good player. They've got so many options in that midfield, because I honestly, Ili, Atuesta, now O'Brien, Tillman, like, man, who's going to sit out? Bogusz has been coming back into the midfield. Carlos is now in here. Kai's been scoring goal. Like, who are you taking out? That's my question.
Yeah.
So it's a good problem. It's a good problem. We say it every time, but O'Brien has impressed. The last few matches that I've been watching, he's been incredible.
One little quick thing, because you mentioned Bogusz, that's the one little concern I have. I see him in games moving around multiple times. I don't think that serves him great. And I don't think the coaches want to do it. It's just he's so good that he allows other players to come in. But eventually I'd like to see him settle in one or two positions. But you mentioned the lineup in the midfield. Lewis O'Brien's not coming out. The coaching staff loves him. 7 straight starts. I was surprised in the Leagues Cup. He just got here, and he was the first sub off the bench when they were trailing Columbus. So the coaches already know they have 100% faith in him, and he is turning it. He is also looking like to be a great team player. I don't know if you saw some of the celebrations after the Open Cup, but, they poured some beverages on the floor, and he did the slide in the locker room, smiling, laughing. And the big question for Lewis O'Brien, and this has been a shrewd move, another fantastic move by the front office of Thorrington and McGuinness and everyone. He is on loan through the end of this year. And Nottingham Forest own his rights. And I have to think that they have to pick up the sale for next year. I can't imagine they'll say, unless Nottingham Forest plays some hardball, he has to be coming back. He has become one of the 5 most important players on this team.
LAFC is so good at doing business, whether that's bringing players in or selling players. I'm sure they negotiated a good buyout price for that loan, right? So it's great because you got to see him this year, see if he's worthy of that price tag or not. And he's looked, I don't know what the price tag is, so I don't want to, jump ahead too much. So he looks like he is worth that price tag. Now, if it's something crazy, $20 million, then you can reassess. Like, all right, maybe Bouanga, but sorry, O'Brien. But he's a very, very good player. And so, whatever that price tag is, they might just take him. And then here's where LAFC is so good. All these other young kids that are balling out, then you can sell those guys to make up for that price that you just paid. So I'm not going to tell them what to do because they haven't missed that one thing that they've done. They're so good at it. So they're just going to continue. Larry Friedman over there he's doing a heck of a job with the numbers. So he knows what he's doing.
Larry's getting it all into the budget.
Larry and John and Jordan and all my guys over there. They're doing a phenomenal job.
He's listing the whole staff. It's
a team effort, my friend.
The only problem is if he's been so good, Nottingham Forest goes, oh, we could use that. But because Nottingham Forest has a huge roster, and that is why he was made available. Otherwise, he can play in the Premier League. But this is a guy that we'll see. But he has already proven to be so important. Young player, he's 25, very exciting. I would love to see him in black and gold. And I think he loves Los Angeles the times I've spoken to him. So let's move on from the players and let's talk about what lies ahead. The win at Cincinnati has changed everything as we look at the playoff position prediction. I'm going to ask you where you think LAFC is going to finish. But I'm going to throw a little caveat and say, do you think they can catch the Galaxy for first in the West? Galaxy lead it by 6 points. LAFC have 4 games. Galaxy have 3. So LAFC is Wednesday home to St. Louis. At Sporting Kansas City, a team they just beat, and I think if they get another shot, even away, like their chances. At Vancouver, they'll be missing international players. That's the game. I would imagine they lose, but I thought that about Cincinnati. And then home to San Jose, a team they should beat at home. Galaxy are at Colorado, home to Austin, at Houston. So Colorado and Houston are teams you don't want to play right now, certainly not away. So I don't think I think LAFC, I'll see what you think. I think LAFC will finish second, just miss out from first, but it's going to be like a point or two behind because even the 6 points may be too big of a gap. But I think they're going to give it a real push. But they're definitely going to finish in the top four. I'm going to say second because they have a game in hand on everyone, and everyone's going to be playing each other.
Yeah. So with those games in hand, I think Galaxy will finish off with 4 points there. I think LAFC will finish off with 7 points there. So 2 wins and a draw. Unfortunately, with that being said, I think they're just going to miss out and get second place. But still, it's a strong finish going into the playoffs. They should be happy with it. You get the two home playoff games if you get second. And that's if Galaxy make it that far. So if you have to play a conference final and Galaxy make it that far, okay, then you just go to their place, which you've done before, and you go beat them. But that's my prediction.
If playoffs ended now, the Galaxy would play either Portland or Minnesota, who are playing good in the quarters, and then play, I believe, Seattle or Vancouver. It's all going to be hard. It's going to be hard for LAFC, but things can get a little wacky, and I expect them to do it. I like how you did the math there, or the numbers. 7 points. I wish I thought of that. 4 points.
a win and a tie for the Galaxy, 2 wins and a tie for LAFC, 4 and 7. Unfortunately, they're going to be 3 short, but it's going to be good for them regardless, because I do think LAFC is also the better away team than the Galaxy. So it's not the worst thing to go on the road for a game or two.
So you're saying LAFC win the 2 home games, get a point at Sporting. Galaxy beat Austin and get a point at Houston or Colorado. So even if they lose Colorado and Houston, LAFC still won't catch them, even if they get 7 points, which is actually pretty good business.
Yeah, exactly. So,
all right.
Who knows?
I feel like we ended the show on a bummer, but no.
You got your trophy, Max. We've been talking about this one trophy. I'm excited. I told you we've talked about it many times. It's one trophy I hadn't won as a player, and so I'm going to be coming back. And I expect to take a couple pictures with that trophy. I want to hold it. I want to see what it's like.
Can't wait.
It was a good week. It was a great week. We should be celebrating.
I know everyone feels so good knowing now every day they wake up, we've won the U.S. Open Cup. And who knows what the U.S. Open Cup looks like. So it was important to win it this year. So well done, LAFC. So celebrate. And I think there are some good times ahead. We'll see what the team looks like. Wednesday, St. Louis. Saturday at Sporting Kansas City. We go from here. Good stuff, Beta. I'll get you a date with the Open Cup. Maybe you can drive it around. Nice little lunch at the Persian Square.
Yes. Let's get a whole day. Plan it out. All right. Let me know when I should come over there.
Good. Done. Beitashour, as always, first class, doing the math for you to see how well LAFC finishes. We will continue here on Inside LAFC podcast when we return. Part of the great fullback stable in LAFC history now, Omar Campos joins us with Katia Castorena to talk about his emergence and how he's become a big factor for the Black and Gold.
Inside LAFC podcast is presented by Freeway Insurance, driving savings.
Welcome back to Inside LAFC podcast. Very well accompanied. First of all, welcoming Katia Castorena, who's going to help us here with the interview. How are you doing, Katia?
I'm great. Excited to be here. Happy to be interviewing Omar alongside you. Max, how are you?
There he is. I'm good. Thank you for asking. We are joined by LAFC left back Omar Campos. Omar, let's get started. How has it been? Year 1 with LAFC, new club, new city, new country. ¿Cómo han ido para usted? Llegando en su primer año por nuevo club, aquí en un nuevo país, en una nueva ciudad.
Sí, la verdad que muy bien estar en otro país, en otra ciudad. Vengo haciendo cosas diferentes de las que normalmente venía haciendo en México, pero nada, muy contento y feliz de estar acá y muy agradecido.
He's very excited to be in a new country, in a new club, trying to do new things than what he was doing in Mexico. But I'm very excited, looking forward to what comes next.
Omar, you mentioned John talked to you directly before signing with the club, and he had a vision of how you would fit into this club. How has the experience been so far, comparing it to those conversations, and how has your relationship with him evolved? Omar, tú has hablado de cómo John te buscó directamente, te platicó de cómo encajabas en este proyecto, en este equipo, y de allí que basaras tu decisión. ¿Cómo se compara ahora que ya lo has vivido a lo que fueron esas conversaciones y cómo ha evolucionado esa relación que tienes con el presidente en particular?
Sí, la verdad que él me buscó. Antes de llegar acá tuve videollamadas con él, me explicó lo que tenían en mente para mí, lo que en el futuro y todo eso, y obviamente dije que sí. Me interesó muchísimo el venir acá, cómo me explicó todo lo que tenían en mente para mí, y ahorita gracias a Dios llegué aquí, obviamente peleando por una titularidad para poder jugar, y como te digo, llegué muy contento, y John me ayudó muchísimo para venir acá, y obviamente que me convenció, y estoy acá en estos momentos.
John sought me directly. We had video calls together. He really pushed for me to come here. He explained that idea that he had and how I would fit into the club. And I didn't think twice about it. I was excited to come here to explore something different. And once I got here, adapting to what the team wanted, I've also been competing and fighting to be regular on the roster, to get a starting role, and just growing as a player.
We want to talk to Omar because he has scored one of the most important goals in club history, the game-winning goal in the U.S. Open Cup past Wednesday night, coming on as a substitute and scoring that goal. Wanted to get his thoughts about that moment. Eres el marcador de uno de los goles más importantes de la historia de este club, lo que ganó el partido dentro del US Open Cup. Entró en partido como suplente. Quería saber de ti, ¿qué fue el mensaje de Steve Cherundolo cuando entró el partido? Y habla un poquito en la llegada del gol.
Sí, la verdad que antes de entrar, el profe solamente me dijo que hiciera lo que sabía hacer, que no tuviera ese miedo de ir hacia adelante. Y ya en la jugada del gol veo que la agarra Quique Olivera, y yo por mi mente pues siempre es pasar por la banda, y en ese momento vi el espacio hacia el centro, y fue cuando me la da y recorto, pero en ese momento no pensé en pegarle porque pues no soy derecho, soy zurdo, y con la derecha casi no me da, y como era una final dije no, pues le tengo que pegar, y pues salió el gol, y fue una locura, fue increíble porque también ese mismo día acaba de llegar mi papá está aquí, y nada, fue increíble esa noche, la verdad.
Wow, amazing. Coming in from El Profe Steve Cherundolo, he looked at me, he said, don't be afraid of getting forward. So when I got into the game, I saw Quique. I always pass out wide to him, and then I was going to get the return ball from him, and then I cut in. And I said, I know I'm not right-footed, but I had to make a decision right there, so I went for it, and the ball came off my foot. And it was great. And it was a very special goal for him because that same day his father arrived in LA, so he was able to experience and see it. Rapidito, Steve Cherundolo, dijiste que él nunca ha visto usted usar su pie derecho. ¿Eso es verdad o es un broma?
Últimamente ya casi no lo he usado, pero cuando estaba jugando en México sí tuve como 3 disparos, igual pasaron al ladito del poste, y pues esta fue la vencida, y fue donde cayó el gol, y más que nada que en una final muy emocionante, la verdad.
So I asked him, he goes, after the game, maybe it was tongue-in-cheek, Steve Cherundolo said, I've never seen him use his right foot, and Omar said that I have used it before. I hit the post a couple times, but I have used it, but it was such a magical night. Really enjoyed everything that happened.
Omar, And I wanted to talk a little bit more what you were saying, having your dad in town. I know it had been difficult when you first got here because your family didn't have a visa, couldn't come visit you, and you had your girlfriend's support, but that was like the only support that you had. So now having your family with you, your father is like, walk us through that moment and what that means. Omar, sé que antes tu familia no había podido venir, no tenían la visa para estar aquí, solamente tu novia que había podido estarte apoyando, el que ahora pudiera estar tu papá. ¿Cómo ha sido ese proceso para ti? Sobre todo lo que implica, ¿no? El no sentirte tan solo estando lejos.
Sí, la verdad que es muy importante para mí el estar cerca con ellos. Como dices, al principio nomás era mi novia y ahora es mi papá, pero ese mismo día de la final, al otro día mi novia se fue y ya nomás se quedó mi papá. Y la verdad que, como te digo, es importante porque siempre hemos sido muy unidos. Aparte es el único que apenas le dieron la visa y gracias a Dios se la dieron y pudo estar ese día de la final, que mi papá pues no muchas veces me ve en una final y las veces que me ha visto pues he perdido, pero y gracias a Dios esta fue la que nos coronamos y como te digo es muy importante el estar con él aquí en Estados Unidos.
He said, perfect timing because my dad is the first one out of the family to get the visa so he could come visit and watch me live playing a final. He hasn't had the opportunity to watch me play many finals, and the times that he's witnessed that, I've actually been on the losing end. So now him being there with me at BMO Stadium, us being able to lift that trophy, it was definitely a very special moment. And like you mentioned, I had my girlfriend with me before, but the day immediately after the final, she had to leave. So that was great because now she left, but my dad got to stay with me and I don't feel alone. We've always been very close in my family. So having them with me helps me a lot.
That's amazing when we talk about the background for Omar, but you come from Mexico. This is a new experience for you. And we know there are some rough moments getting through in your football journey. Talk a little bit about that. ¿De dónde vienes? ¿De qué parte de México y su llegada jugando fútbol? ¿Y cómo han recibido los momentos como coaches para mejorar como futbolista? Pero poco de qué parte de México eres.
Soy ahí de la Ciudad de México, vengo del barrio de Tepito, ahí a unas calles, de ahí nací, desde ahí de chiquito he nacido, hasta la fecha ahorita pues ahí siguen mis papás y pues de ahí vengo de la Ciudad de México, de ese barrio.
Talked about where he came from, Mexico City and Barrio Coltepito. That's where I was raised and the home of my father as well, and that's where the football journey began.
Y les comentaba, we were talking before this podcast, as how it's a infamous neighborhood in Mexico City, considered dangerous. So how is that for you growing up there? How has that shaped you? And I know you were a Club America fan growing up. Omar, hablábamos y les explicaba previo a este podcast cómo el barrio de Tepito tiene una cierta fama de ser un barrio, bueno, complicado, peligroso en la Ciudad de México. ¿Cómo fue para ti crecer ahí? ¿Cómo eso te forjó como persona? Y por ahí que eras hasta fan del Club América cuando eras niño.
Sí, yo, primero que nada, mi papá fue el que siempre me llevó por el buen camino. Él sabía cómo estaban las cosas ahí donde vivimos. Obviamente se cuentan muchas cosas malas de ahí, pero los que no conocen, la verdad que es un barrio muy trabajador, es muy honesto, es un barrio que quieren salir adelante. Obviamente hay sus contras de cualquier otro barrio, otra calle y nada, como te digo, yo también era fan de la América, yo le iba a la América de chiquito, pero como fui creciendo, pues me fui a Santos y ahorita Santos fue el que me abrió las puertas y nada, está contento de estar aquí con Los Ángeles.
He talked about that neighborhood, that of course there are many stories around the neighborhood, but it's also a neighborhood full of hardworking people that just want a better life. And like any place in the world, there are certain areas that aren't as safe, but his dad was always there to guide him and to go on the right path. And he was a fan of Club America growing up, but then afterwards he fell in love with Santos. Santos in Mexico was the club that opened its doors for him, gave him his first shot at being a professional soccer player, and now, of course, wearing proudly the black and gold.
It's an interesting time, Omar, with regards to being a Mexican in Major League Soccer. Ahora with the Leagues Cup and so many big Mexican talents like Vela, Hector Herrera, Chucky Lozano's coming as well. What do you think about what works between the two leagues and how you've seen that grow? Es un momento interesante para las relaciones de Liga MX y MLS. Llega una liga que tiene mexicanos famosos como Vela, Herrera. Dentro poco llega Chiqui Lozano. ¿Qué han funcionado y cómo se ve el futuro donde los dos ligas están jugando regularmente y más mexicanos se viene probablemente a MLS?
Sí, la verdad que son muy buenas dos ligas. Me tocó estar en la Liga Mexicana y la verdad que es muy buena liga donde compiten buenos equipos, buenos jugadores. Y ahorita que estoy acá en la Liga MLS también es muy buena liga. La verdad que ha crecido muchísimo esta liga, ha crecido demasiado, es por eso que ahí vienen muchos jugadores aquí a la Liga MLS, jugadores muy importantes que han quedado campeones del mundo, como los que tenemos aquí, como Hugo, Giroud, Vela, que es un jugador que también es una leyenda en México, en la selección, y la verdad que las dos ligas han crecido muchísimo y la verdad que es una muy buena competencia el torneo que hacen de la League Cup.
It's great to play in Liga MX. I played with some very good teams and some good places. MLS is also very good, and it's been great to see how it has been getting better all the time. There are a lot of top important players in MLS. It's not just the Mexican players, but I have a chance to play with guys who have won World Cups like Hugo Lloris, and obviously playing with Carlos Vela, who is a legend in Mexico. Both grown a lot, and I'm excited, and I've enjoyed Leagues Cup thus far and look forward to playing more Leagues Cup games.
Speaking a little bit more about Carlos Vela, when you first joined the team, he wasn't there. Now he re-signed with the club. You get to see him there every day. How has that relationship been for you, getting to know him personally on a daily basis? And I don't know, some early memories that you might have had watching him play from afar when you were little. Hablábamos de Carlos Vela y quería preguntarte un poquito más sobre cómo ha sido esa relación, ahora poderlo ver ahí en el día a día, porque cuando llegaste al club no estaba, ahora ha regresado con LAFC. ¿Cómo han sido esas conversaciones? Y no sé si tengas algunos recuerdos de cuando eras niño, de verlo en la televisión o lo que ha representado él para el fútbol mexicano.
Sí, la verdad que cuando llegué no me tocó verlo. Yo pensé que ya no lo iba a ver, que ya no iba a poder compartir vestidor o cancha con él. Y afortunadamente regresó. Como te digo, para nosotros los mexicanos, bueno, para mí es un jugador muy admirable, como te digo, una leyenda, y la verdad que me ha dado muchos consejos de confiar en mí mismo, de a la hora de jugar ser yo, ser lo que sé hacer y todo. Y la verdad que ha sido he tenido pláticas bien con él y como te digo, es un jugador que admiramos muchísimo y que nosotros sabemos que él nos puede dar un consejo de la mejor manera.
When I first joined the club, he wasn't here, and I thought I wouldn't get the chance to share a locker room or the field with him. And now that he came back, has been great. I've had amazing conversations with him. He's given me advice about what I can do, just trusting my skills, trusting the way I play, being freer on the field. Like I said, he's a legend for us as Mexicans, and for me personally, someone that I admire, and us here at LAFC in the building, it is someone that we look up to and that we all admire.
Recently, Omar, you were called into the Sub-23, the under-23s of Mexico, a pipeline, obviously, to get to the senior team. Where are you in your development? How close do you think we're speaking to coaches that you might get a chance to play for the senior team? Recientemente recibiste lo convocado para el Sub-23 de México. ¿Dónde está en tu progreso de tu juego y piensas que está acercando a un día que vas a recibir la llamada para jugar con el Tri?
Sí, la verdad que he tenido estos llamados a la Sub-23 de la selección, y sí, obviamente mi pensamiento y mis objetivos siempre van a estar para ir a la selección mayor a jugar ahí con ellos, un torneo. Pues obviamente se viene el Mundial y obviamente uno quiere estar ahí, y obviamente que tengo ese sueño de poder ser llamado a la selección mayor.
Yes, I did receive the call to play for the Sub-23s. It was a great experience. Obviously, the objective is to play for the senior team and El Tri. Hopefully, I get a chance with the tournament in the not-too-distant future. Obviously, there's the World Cup is coming, and who knows, perhaps can be on there, but that is certainly the goal.
Speaking of the Mexican national team and looking at the coaching staff, we know that Javier Aguirre is back as a head coach with Rafa Marquez as part of that coaching staff, another Mexican legend. And he was interested in you, and he likes the way you play, with the possibility of signing for Barcelona B. Now that he's with the national team, have you been in contact with him, or what would that mean? Omar, sé que había un interés por el Barcelona B, Rafa Márquez específicamente, siguiendo tu juego, ahora que es parte del cuerpo técnico con el Vasco Aguirre en la selección. No sé si has tenido por ahí algunas pláticas, comunicación o lo que representa, ¿no? Al menos saber que está al pendiente de ti.
Sí, como dices, tuve un acercamiento de parte de cuando estaba Rafa Márquez en el Barcelona B, pero solamente fue como rumor, y sí, ahorita está con Aguirre ahí en la selección, y ahorita no he tenido como que pláticas o charlas con él, pero siento que pues a lo mejor sí me están dando un seguimiento, pero hasta ahí es lo que sé.
There were some rumors, like you said, about a possibility of me going to Barcelona B when Rafa Márquez was with the team. Now that he is part of that coaching staff with the Mexican national team, I haven't had communication like directly with them, but just knowing that there's that possibility of them just like paying close attention to my development, what I'm doing with the under 23 team and here at LAFC, it's motivating, and I'm excited for what's to come.
Well, Omar, we are very excited for you, for the club, obviously with your aspirations to Mexico, and it's great to see you getting better as a player all the time. Gracias por estar con nosotros. Mucha suerte, Omar, con LAFC, también con cualquier oportunidad que se llega con el equipo nacional. Gracias.
Muchas gracias a ustedes. Un abrazo.
Gracias, Omar. Abrazo.
Gracias.
And thank you, Omar. Hey, thank you, Katia. Couldn't have done it without you. I think we covered some good ground.
Yes, my pleasure. I hope you guys could understand the back and forth of us translating everything.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll keep doing this. So we appreciate Omar making the time. So long, Omar. See you later, Katia. Inside LAFC. We'll be back again next week. We're into the stretch run of the season. Make sure you rate, review, download, subscribe, tell a friend. We'll see you soon.